Hey everyone, Thomas Joseph here. Now, does your chicken piccata turn out like this? Dry and overcooked, maybe really dark on one side and insipid and colorless on the other side? Well, today I'm gonna share with you a foolproof method in making chicken piccata, and you will be making it every week, I promise. It takes so little time and so few ingredients, and it's delicious, juicy, and tender. How do we get started? Well, I'm using chicken today, and that's what I have. 2 chicken breasts here. These are about 8 to 10 ounce chicken breasts. And to start this process, and this is something that you guys can actually have your butcher do, or in your supermarket, they sell chicken cutlets, so you wouldn't necessarily have to do this at home. But what you have to do, if you do have these big chicken breasts here, is you have to have this horizontally. So taking a very sharp, thin knife, this is a carving knife, you're gonna go halfway down the chicken breast here, and you're gonna slice all the way through. You can purchase this at your supermarket. These are called chicken cutlets, but chicken cutlets are usually a little bit more expensive because there's more work that's been put into them, and it's actually really easy to do at home, so why not do it? There we go, we have 2 beautiful cutlets, and now to this, I'm going to take a piece of plastic wrap and I'm going to pound this out into an even 1/4 inch thickness. And this is really what you need to do when you're making chicken piccata, or if you're making a chicken Milanese, any thin cutlet, you want to make sure that you pound it out evenly so that it cooks evenly throughout and quickly as well. When you're using a meat mallet to pound out meat, make sure that you use the smooth side of the mallet, not the textured side. This will actually tear and break up the muscle fibers here, and this is a very tender cut of meat, so there's no need to do that. So get a little bit of your aggression out here. And that looks pretty good. You don't want to exert too much force because you don't want to really break up the chicken cutlet. You just want to pound it into a uniform thickness. So I'm gonna repeat the process with my other chicken cutlet here. And while you're doing this, make sure you have a pan preheated to medium-high heat. You want a wide enough skillet that you can fit more than one of these chicken cutlets into, but you wanna make sure that it's not too small because otherwise you're gonna overcrowd the pan and you're not gonna get a nice light color to the cutlet. So this looks nice and thin. I'm gonna discard the plastic wrap here. And now, with my fingers, I'm going to begin the process of dredging the chicken cutlets. And what is dredging? Well, dredging is usually a powdery, floury substance. So it could be like what I'm using today, all-purpose flour. It could be a different type of flour. Sometimes rice flours are used for when you're making fried calamari or something like that. But it's a simple dressing of flour that's then gonna go into the pan and create a nice fond or brown bits on the bottom of the pot, which will give us a really great thickening agent for our sauce. So to this flour mixture, you need to season it because this is what's gonna stick to the outside of the chicken cutlets here. And if you do not season it, you're gonna have a flavorless chicken piccata. So be generous here with your salt and pepper, and I'm using my hands to just mix the two up. Now you could use your favorite seasoning blend here if you wanted to, but for a classic chicken piccata, the flavors are pretty typical. Lemon, capers, salt and pepper, and a little bit of white wine and butter. So now what I'm gonna do is put my cutlets right into the flour mixture here, coat them on both sides, shake off any excess flour, and then I'm gonna just put it right back onto my work surface while I do the other. This technique of making piccata, it can be done with chicken, it can be done with veal, it can be done with pork. It does not need to have the classic flavors that I'm using today. You could do this saute method here and flavor it in many different ways with different citrus fruits and different flavoring. So I'm gonna get rid of this, wash my hands up, and then we're ready to cook these cutlets. Now it's time to cook the cutlets. Medium-high heat here, and now I'm going to add a tablespoon of olive oil into the bottom of the pan. You can see the oil is dancing around, so you know that it's hot. And to this, I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Now what this does, the butter here, it adds really great flavor and richness to this dish. And the oil increases the heat point of the butter so that the butter doesn't burn. It'll brown nicely, but it shouldn't burn because we have the addition of the oil. So now this is all melted, it's bubbling, it's popping. I'm going to add in our chicken cutlets. So I'm gonna fit my 2 cutlets in. And again, guys, this is one of the important tips here. You can't cook too many cutlets at one time. So this recipe, it will yield 4 beautiful pieces of chicken piccata, but you really should cook them in batches, in 2s. So this is gonna take about 2 to 3 minutes per side. The problem that people have with chicken piccata, with dry chicken piccata, or chicken in general, is that people overcook it. This method, with a very even thickness of the chicken and only 2 minutes per side, is going to yield a wonderfully tender, juicy, and delicious cutlet, I promise. So it's been about 2 minutes, and you'll know when to flip the chicken cutlets when you see the edge of the chicken cutlet starts to turn opaque. And that's when you know to flip it and that you're not overcooking your chicken cutlet. Gently flip them over, and then again, it's about 2 more minutes, and then we'll be ready to make our delicious pan sauce and ready to eat. How quick is that? Now it's been about 2 minutes, and I'm going to remove the chicken cutlets to the plate to rest while I make the pan sauce. Do not discard or ditch any of the stuff in this pan except for the fat. So I'm gonna drain off the fat, but leave all of those wonderful brown bits, because again, guys, that's all of the wonderful fond bits called. And that's all of the bits of flour that are nice and brown, that has a lot of flavor, and it's also gonna thicken up our sauce nicely. So to this, I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons of a white wine. Now, white wine is very classic to this recipe. Vermouth would also be really nice here. Cognac if you wanted to get a little bit of a different flavor, but for a classic chicken piccata, it's white wine. So this liquid, this process here in the hot pan is called deglazing the pan, and all of the added moisture and this stirring and agitation is helping to release all of those brown bits. And you can see how nice and thick it is. And now at this point, since this is nice and thick and syrupy, I'm going to add in some more flavor here. This is 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Stir that together. And while this reduces, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of capers. Now, these are salt pack capers that I've rinsed, but you could certainly use the briny capers if you have them as well. Whatever works, whatever you have in your pantry. If you haven't tried capers, you really should. They have a really nice saltiness, a really nice flavor that helps to kind of cut through the acidity and also the fat. Because guess what? We're gonna add a little bit more butter now just to enrich this sauce. 1 tablespoon. Stir this around until it's nicely melted and emulsified into the sauce. I'm gonna turn the heat down a little bit. And last but not least, and I'm gonna turn the heat off here, our sauce is nice and thick. I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of chopped parsley. This just freshens it up, and you wanna make sure you turn the heat off because you don't wanna really cook this parsley. So now take this really delicious, flavorful sauce and spoon it right over your well-cooked, juicy cutlets. And bring this right to the table, guys. You can even serve this with some lemon wedges. That would be fantastic. Crusty bread, a nice tender green salad, and there you go. You have dinner in literally 20 minutes, not even, from start to finish. Super simple, super fast, really flavorful, and that conundrum of the dry chicken piccata, the dry cutlets, it's really solved right here, guys. Enjoy.